Welcome, weary traveler, to a quiet journey across the ancient lands of China. Tonight, we drift softly back to a powerful and mysterious age, steeped in intricate rituals, vast bronze works, and profound social structures. The world of the Shang Dynasty. Allow the gentle current of these long-forgotten stories to carry you, to calm your thoughts, and perhaps to guide you towards a tranquil stillness. We will explore aspects of their existence, some grand and public, others deeply private and rarely spoken of, all delivered with the measured cadence of history unfolding. We invite you to simply listen, to imagine, and to let these quiet tales of a distant age guide you towards a serene repose. Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to approximately 1200 BCE. The setting is the heart of the Shang Dynasty, the sprawling royal capital of Yinyang. The air often carries the metallic tang of bronze, mixed with the earthy scent of raw silk, and the subtle aroma of burning incense from nearby altars. The sounds are a constant low hum of activity, the quiet tread of many feet on packed earth or stone, the distant murmurs of conversation, and the occasional, almost rhythmic clinking of bronze as it is cleaned and polished. You would receive humble portions of millet scraps, perhaps mixed with a few vegetables or a thin broth. You are aware of a secret affair involving a concubine, a member of the royal household whose life is entwined with the king's. For those involved in such an affair, and for anyone who inadvertently becomes aware of it, the consequences of discovery can be severe. The Shang court was deeply rooted in ritual and order, and deviations, especially those involving the king's household, were seen as disruptions to the cosmic balance. Perhaps you overhear hushed conversations late at night, or witness fleeting glances exchanged between individuals who should not be so close. The placement of a specific object, the timing of a whispered message, the unexpected presence of someone where they shouldn't be, these are the subtle cues that slowly reveal a forbidden liaison. The air seems to grow heavy with unspoken understanding. This staple grain provides just enough nourishment to sustain your body through the long hours of diligent service, but rarely offers the indulgence of true pleasure. Water, often from a communal well, would be readily available, cool and vital. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a servant within its vast, intricate palace complex. Your life, though humble, is intimately woven into the daily rituals and rigorous demands of this powerful Bronze Age court. And perhaps through no fault of your own, you find yourself subtly, unwillingly caught in the orbit of a concubine's secret affair, a forbidden liaison unfolding in the shadows. The first sensation that might envelop you is the pervasive sensory weight of palace duties. Your hands, in particular, know the texture and weight of these precious metals. You might spend long hours polishing bronze ceremonial vessels, weapons, or decorative objects. Your hands cramp from the repetitive motions, the exertion of bringing a lustrous sheen to the dull surface of ancient metal. The cool, smooth surface of the bronze beneath your palm, the subtle ache in your fingers and wrists, these become a constant, quiet companion, a reminder of your endless labor. Meals, while not luxurious for a servant, are simple and functional. But beneath the rhythm of duty, there is a new, subtle tension. A profound, chilling sensation begins to settle upon you, the dread of exposure. You fear ritual punishment, not necessarily a physical act observed directly, but the quiet knowledge of what could befall those who transgress the strict social and spiritual rules. This fear manifests as a subtle tightening in your chest, a constant awareness of watchful eyes, even unseen ones. The chants of priests from distant temples, invoking ancestors and deities, might seem to carry an added weight, reminding you of the spiritual judgment that could accompany such a breach of conduct. Your movements become even more precise, your silence more profound, as you navigate a palace where secrets, once revealed, could lead to a swift and quiet downfall for all entangled. To exist in such a state, to bear witness to sensitive matters while maintaining your own precarious position, required a profound internal stillness. It demanded a resilience of spirit that allowed one to move through days, months, and even years, within the bronze-lit confines of a world that was both your existence and a potential source of quiet peril. The rhythm of their lives was a constant, internal negotiation between duty, survival, and the ever-present, subtle threat of unseen forces. From the watchful, precarious life of a palace servant, let us now ascend to the very pinnacle of Shang Dynasty power, where a truly remarkable relationship blossomed amidst the grandeur of the royal court. We turn our attention to the compelling story of King Wu Dang and his extraordinary consort, Fu Hao, whose passionate marriage was not only deeply devoted, but also profoundly impactful on the fate of the empire. His reign marked a period of great expansion and prosperity for the Shang, and at the heart of this success was his exceptional relationship with Fu Hao. They were often confined to the inner palace, their influence primarily within the domestic sphere or through ritual. Fu Hao, however, shattered these expectations. What sets her apart is her unprecedented role as a military general. Oracle bone inscriptions detail her performing sacrifices to ancestors and deities, a highly important duty that often fell to the king himself. This suggests her profound spiritual authority and her deep involvement in the religious life of the Shang, further highlighting her unique status. Oracle bone inscriptions, the very records of Shang divination, frequently mention her leading vast armies into battle. While he had many consorts, Fu Hao clearly held a unique and unparalleled position, distinguished by her intelligence, capability, and the king's deep affection. Her presence on the battlefield, a woman leading troops in a male-dominated society, speaks volumes about her strategic prowess, her personal courage, and crucially, King Wu Ding's absolute trust and faith in her abilities. Her campaigns against rival tribes were consistently successful, contributing significantly to the expansion and security of the Shang realm. These military victories were not just triumphs of arms, but also a testament to the powerful synergy between the king and his consort. This narrative of love and power is delivered with a soothing, reflective tone of history unfolding. The era is still approximately 1200 BCE, and King Wu Ding, one of the most powerful and long-reigning monarchs of the Shang Dynasty, sits on the throne at Anyang. Imagine the traditional roles of royal women in this ancient period. Think of the sight of Fu Hao, not in flowing silks of the palace, but perhaps in bronze armor, commanding chariots and warriors. Beyond her military achievements, Fu Hao also played a significant role in state rituals and religious ceremonies. Their devotion to each other is subtly yet powerfully revealed through these same oracle bones. King Wu Ding frequently sought divination about Fu Hao's health, her childbirths, her well-being during military campaigns, and even her dreams. This level of personal concern and frequent inquiry, recorded for posterity, paints a picture of a king who genuinely cherished his consort, a deep affection that transcended mere political alliance. Their bond was a partnership, fueling both military victories and domestic stability. Tragically, Fu Hao's life, though illustrious, appears to have been relatively short. She died before King Wu Ding, and her passing was clearly a profound loss for him. His grief is subtly conveyed through the extraordinary care taken in her burial. Her tomb, discovered largely intact in 1976 at Anyang, is a testament to her immense wealth, status, and the king's enduring love. The legacy of her tomb is one of the most significant archaeological finds of the Shang Dynasty. Unlike other royal tombs that had been looted, Fu Hao's burial chamber yielded an astonishing array of artifacts, over 1,900 items, including vast quantities of ceremonial bronze vessels, jade carvings, and valuable cowrie shells. Most strikingly, It contained a large collection of weapons, reinforcing her identity as a warrior. The sheer volume and richness of these grave goods speak volumes about her unparalleled importance and the profound devotion of King Wu Ding. The story of King Wu Ding and Fu Hao is a poignant reminder that even in the ancient, ritualistic world of the Shang Dynasty, deep personal bonds and passionate partnerships could flourish, influencing the very course of an empire. Their love, intertwined with military power and spiritual authority, quietly endures as a testament to the enduring human capacity for devotion, resonating softly through the millennia. From the powerful romance of King Wu Ding and Fu Hao, let ritualistic chamber within the Shang Palace or a nearby temple in Anyang. The air might carry the faint scent of smoke from burning incense or wood. The sounds would be hushed. The precise, they would carefully scratch questions like, will the king take consort X? Or will the king's trip be favorable for his relationship with Lady Y? Or even, will consort Z give birth successfully? The answers, often brief and cryptic, were then inscribed alongside the questions. These short declarative statements provide a direct window into the personal relationships and concerns within the royal household. Deliberate actions of a diviner, the gentle scraping of a tool, and then the sharp, distinctive crack of heated bone as it split, revealing the answers from the ancestors. This sound, a moment of profound revelation, was at the heart of Shang divination. Youths now delve into a more intimate and enigmatic aspect of Shang Dynasty life, the mystery of Shang love oracles. These humble yet profound fragments of inscribed bone and tortoiseshell offer a rare, direct glimpse into the personal concerns, anxieties, and perhaps even the hidden romantic intrigues of the Shang elite. They invite us to ponder how love and human relationships were understood and divined in this distant Bronze Age world. Imagine the atmosphere in a quiet. The core of Shang religious practice revolved around divination, particularly using oracle bones, ox scapulae or tortoise plastrons. Or perhaps the quiet fascination of these oracle bones lies not just in their practical function, but in the rich variety of topics they cover. While many inscriptions concern matters of state, warfare, harvest, or royal health, a surprising number touch upon deeply personal issues, including those we might interpret as romantic intrigues. This raises a quiet, persistent question: were these specific divinations royal love notes, private requests concerning forbidden passions, or simply divinations about compatibility and prosperity and marital alliances? These bones were meticulously prepared, often polished smooth, and then questions were carefully inscribed upon them. A heated bronze rod would then be applied to specific points on the bone, causing it to crack. The diviner would then interpret the pattern of these cracks, along with the inscribed question and sometimes the answer or outcome, as messages from the royal ancestors or deities. The mystery. Think of the diviners, the highly skilled individuals who posed these questions to the ancestors. These love oracles suggest that even in a society governed by strict hierarchies and ritual, human emotions and relationships, including those that might be considered clandestine or problematic, were a significant concern. The fact that the king himself or his closest advisors sought ancestral guidance on such matters underscores their importance, not just personally. They are not grand narratives, but the mundane, yet deeply personal, details of daily existence, transformed by time into invaluable insights, and social structures, prompting a gentle wonder about the personal lives intertwined with the grand narratives of kings and rituals. The subtle sounds of ancient bones, the quiet murmurs of divination, these are the gentle echoes of a quiet mystery, patiently waiting to be unraveled by the persistent sands of time. They spark a quiet curiosity about the individuals whose questions were etched into bone, whose quiet hopes and fears we can only piece together from the faint echoes of ancient cracks. but also for the stability of the royal line in the empire. It implies that Shang courtship and marital practices, even royal ones, were not always straightforward. They could involve complex negotiations, personal affections, and sometimes, perhaps, veiled conflicts that required divine intervention. The presence of these records also allows us to reflect on cultural practices around Shang Palace romance. Marriage alliances were often political, cementing power or forging alliances with other noble families. Yet, the oracle bones hint at underlying human desires, affections, and rivalries that transcended mere political arrangement. The quiet act of cracking a bone, seeking an ancestral blessing or warning about a personal connection, reveals a deep belief in the ancestors' influence over every aspect of life, even the most intimate. The very existence of these inscribed fragments, carefully preserved for millennia beneath the earth of Anyang, is a testament to the Shang people's profound reverence for divination and their meticulous record-keeping. This segment allows us to reflect on the hidden truths of ancient Shang relationships and social structures, prompting a gentle wonder about the personal lives intertwined with the grand narratives of kings and rituals. The subtle sounds of ancient bones, the quiet murmurs of divination, these are the gentle echoes of a quiet mystery, patiently waiting to be unraveled by the persistent sands of time. From the intimate and enigmatic world of Shang love oracles, let us now gently transition to another realm of Shang elite life, the sprawling, yet ordered world of a Shang noble's compound. This offers a striking contrast to the humble servant's life, and a captivating glimpse into the ceremonial grandeur, ancestral devotion, and active participation in warfare that define the Shang aristocracy. Imagine stepping through a sturdy, perhaps decorated, gateway into a large, walled compound, a self-contained world designed for prestige, ritual, and daily living. The air here would feel purposeful and perhaps solemn, often carrying the distinct scent of burning wood from hearths or, more significantly, from fires used in ancestral offerings. Imagine long, low tables or mats laid out for guests, laden with various dishes. The aroma of cooked meats, perhaps pork, dog, or cattle, would fill the air alongside steamed grains. The staple would be millet, prepared in various ways, but the most distinctive element would be the millet wine, served from elegant bronze vessels. This wine, often strong and aromatic, would be consumed during both convivial gatherings and solemn ancestral rites. While not on the colossal scale of the royal palace, it would still be impressive, reflecting the noble's wealth and status. Imagine the noble leading their household in solemn offerings to their ancestors, seeking blessings, guidance, and protection. The air would be thick with the scent of burning offerings, and the rhythmic chants of the noble or their family priests would create a hypnotic atmosphere, reinforcing the unbreakable link between the living and the spirit world. The rich, deep sound of bronze bells or drums, struck with careful precision, would punctuate these ceremonies, invoking the presence of the powerful departed. Walls might be adorned with simple patterns or, for the highest elite, perhaps with stylized animal motifs. Furnishings would include practical items crafted from wood, perhaps lacquered, alongside highly prized jade ornaments and imposing bronze tripods, symbols of power and ritual authority. The light, often filtered and softened, would gently illuminate chambers designed for both daily life and ceremonial functions. The soft murmur of voices, the occasional clink of bronze, and the distant, rhythmic beat of drums for ritual or practice would form a constant, low hum signifying the important affairs of the household. Unlike the constant physical labor of a servant, the noble's duties were primarily administrative, military, and spiritual. They managed their estates, oversaw their retainers, and critically, participated deeply in ancestral rituals. Their power came from their lineage, their land, and their direct connection to the royal court, often solidified through their military prowess. The architecture of a Shang noble's compound would be substantial, typically built with rammed earth foundations and wooden structures, featuring courtyards and multiple buildings. The daily rhythm of a Shang noble was one of significant responsibility and profound ritual engagement. Feasts in a noble's compound were significant social and ritual events, reflecting the noble's status and their connection to the ruling elite. The sounds of such a feast would be a blend of convivial conversation and the deeper, more resonant tones of ritual. The ancestral rituals were paramount. Imagine the noble leading their household in solemn offerings to their ancestors, seeking blessings, guidance, and protection. The air would be thick with the scent of burning offerings, and the rhythmic chants of the noble or their family priests would create a hypnotic atmosphere, reinforcing the unbreakable link between the living and the spirit world. Shang society was frequently engaged in conflict, defending its borders or expanding its territory. Nobles were expected to lead their own retinues of warriors, participating in campaigns that could last for weeks or months. It highlights the complex layers of a Bronze Age civilization, where every aspect of life, from feasting to warfare, was imbued with ritual and a deep connection to the ancestral past. Their personal courage and strategic skill in battle were highly valued. Imagine them in their chariots, adorned with bronze fittings, leading their men into the fray, a stark contrast to the quiet, internal struggles of palace life. The rich, deep sound of bronze bells or drums, struck with careful precision, would punctuate these ceremonies, invoking the presence of the powerful departed. Their very existence was intertwined with the state's welfare and the ancestral order. Contrast this life of ceremonial grandeur and military duty with the humble existence of a palace servant. One commanded resources and participated in rituals that connected them directly to the divine order and the success of the state. The other served quietly in the background, a small cog in the same vast machinery. Both existed within the grand structure of Shang society, but their experiences were worlds apart. The nobles' role in warfare was also central to their identity and status. While their lives were marked by privilege and ceremonial splendor, they were also bound by strict duties and the constant expectation of loyalty to the Shang king. This glimpse into a Shang noble's compound offers a mesmerizing, yet calming window into a life of privilege, profound spiritual engagement, and active participation in the military affairs of ancient China. From the ritualistic grandeur of a Shang noble's compound, let us now shift our focus to an aspect of Shang civilization that truly embodies its power, its artistry, and its profound spiritual connection, the masterpiece of Shang bronzeworking. These magnificent vessels, intricate in their design and monumental in their scale, represent not merely craftsmanship but a deep cultural and religious expression, inviting us to contemplate the quiet dedication and immense skill behind their creation. Imagine the atmosphere in a Shang bronze workshop near the capital of Enyan. This would not be a silent space, but one filled with the purposeful sounds of highly skilled artisans. The air would be thick with the earthy scent of clay, the metallic tang of molten copper and tin, and the faint, smoky aroma from the furnaces. The dominant sounds would be the rhythmic tapping of hammers as clay molds were prepared, the gentle scraping of tools shaping intricate designs, and the low, steady roar of kilns, heating the crucibles to immense temperatures. The Shang Dynasty is renowned for its unparalleled mastery of bronze casting, particularly the piece mold method. Think of the complex, multi-stage process involved. First, a detailed model of the vessel would be crafted from clay. Then, outer molds would be created by pressing clay against this model, carefully carving out intricate designs, often featuring stylized animal motifs like touty masks, dragons, or birds. Inner cores would also be made. These separate pieces, once hardened, would then be carefully assembled, leaving a precise cavity for the molten bronze. The creation of these vessels was a highly collaborative effort, requiring immense organization and specialized knowledge. Imagine dozens, perhaps hundreds, of artisans working in quiet coordination, miners extracting ores, refiners purifying the metals, designers sketching patterns, mold makers meticulously carving, and the casters themselves moving with precise, deliberate movements around the fiery furnaces. The heat from these furnaces would be intense, the air shimmering above the molten metal, and the moment of pouring the glowing bronze into the prepared molds would be one of quiet tension and intense focus. The scale of some of these bronze pieces is truly astonishing. Consider the Hamu Ding, a massive rectangular tripod weighing over 875 kilograms, the largest piece of ancient bronze found in the world. Imagine the immense effort required to cast such a piece, the sheer volume of molten metal, the coordinated strength of many individuals to lift and pour the crucibles, and the precise timing required to ensure a perfect cast. The sound of such a colossal vessel being carefully lifted, or perhaps gently placed into a tomb, would have been a low, resonant thud, a testament to its immense weight. These bronze vessels were not merely decorative. They were primarily ritual implements, vital for ancestor worship and other ceremonies. Nobles and kings would use them to present offerings of food and wine to their ancestors, seeking their blessings, guidance, and protection. The intricate designs, often featuring fierce and mysterious animal imagery, were believed to connect the living with the spirit world, ensuring the continuity of the lineage and the prosperity of the state. The act of offering, of pouring millet wine into a beautifully crafted bronze jiu, or placing food into a ding, was a solemn, quiet ritual imbued with deep spiritual meaning. The enduring legacy of Shang bronzeworking extends beyond its technical brilliance. These pieces are direct, tangible links to the spiritual life and social structures of this ancient civilization. They represent not only peak craftsmanship, but also the profound belief system that underpins Shang society. The subtle sounds of their creation, the quiet reverence surrounding their use, and their silent preservation for millennia allow us to feel a calming connection to the power and artistry of the distant Shang past. From the magnificent, resonant creations of Shang bronzeworking, let us now gently shift our focus to the more ephemeral, yet equally evocative, elements of daily life in the Shang capital of Enyang. We will tune our ears to the whispers of ancient Enyang, exploring the ordinary sounds and the significant silences that define the existence of its common inhabitants, offering a calming contrast to the grandeur and intrigue we've previously explored. Imagine a typical day unfolding in the common quarters of Enyang, beyond the royal palaces and noble compounds. The morning air, perhaps cool and crisp, would slowly fill with the first sounds of waking life. You might hear the distant, repetitive thud of a wooden pestle against a mortar as millet is pounded for the day's meals. This simple, rhythmic sound would be a constant, comforting backdrop to early morning preparations, a testament to the fundamental need for food. The general atmosphere would be one of quiet industry. You might hear the soft clattered pottery as water is drawn from wells or food is prepared. The low, murmuring conversations of families, the gentle hum of activity in small workshops, perhaps the distant bleating of goats or the soft grunts of pigs. These would be the fabric of the city's waking soundtrack. Life for the common people was largely agrarian and artisanal, a cycle tied to the seasons and the demands of labor. Think of the materials that dominated their lives: wood, earth, and simple fibers. Their homes would be humble, often made of rammed earth with thatched roofs. The sounds within these homes would be quiet and intimate: the rustle of straw sleeping mats, the soft crackle of a small fire for cooking, the gentle creak of a wooden stool. There would be a pervading sense of groundedness, a direct connection to the natural world and its rhythms. During the daytime, as the sun climbed higher, the sounds might shift. You might hear the distant shouts of vendors in a market area, their voices rising and falling in a gentle cadence as they called out their wares. The soft shuffle of many feet on dirt paths, the occasional whir of a potter's wheel, or the rhythmic thwack of a weaver's loom, these subtle mechanical sounds would indicate the various crafts and trades supporting the city. However, just as significant as the sounds were the silences, there would be profound silences in the fields outside the city walls, broken only by the wind through tall grasses or the distant call of a bird. Within the city itself, there would be moments of quiet reverence, particularly during religious or ceremonial occasions. When a noble or the king performed an important ancestral ritual, the common populace might fall into a collective hush, a shared moment of solemnity. The only sounds then would be the deep, slow beat of ritual drums, or the high, sustained notes of bronze bells carrying across the air as they invoked the spirits. The nights in ancient Enyang would have been profoundly dark and often very quiet. Without widespread artificial light, the city would settle into a deep stillness after sunset. The distant howl of a wild dog, the gentle chirping of crickets, or the soft rustle of leaves would be the only sounds breaking the profound silence. This natural quietude would have fostered a deep connection to the stars and the moon, and to the subtle rhythms of the earth. This segment allows us to reflect on the quiet, often unrecorded, lives of the majority of Shang people. Their existence, though lacking the grandeur of palaces or the drama of royal intrigues, was rich in its own way, defined by the simple, repetitive sounds of daily labor, the comfort of family, and the profound, natural silences of their world. These quiet echoes from ancient Enyang drift softly, helping us to imagine a world far removed from our own, yet connected by the enduring patterns of human life. What if making giant pyramids meant you worked every day under the hot sun, always afraid of cruel blows or worse, just for being tired? We softly uncover these grim facts of ancient Egypt. Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the 26th century BCE. The setting is the vast, sun-baked Giza Plateau, amidst the colossal undertaking of pyramid construction. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a laborer, one among thousands, whose days are defined by the immense effort of moving and shaping stone for the Great Pyramid. Your life is one of relentless toil, and sometimes a quiet, pervasive fear of punishment for slacking on pyramid work. The first sensation that might envelop you is the overwhelming presence of the sun-scorched quarries. The air is thick with fine dust, clinging to everything, coating your skin and rasping in your throat. The heat is profound, a heavy blanket that presses down from dawn until dusk, slowly draining your strength. The landscape is dominated by the monumental stones, glowing with reflected sunlight and the distant, rhythmic chipping and scraping of tools as workers tirelessly shape the colossal blocks. The subtle, constant shimmer of heat haze distorts the horizon. Your body knows the unceasing demands of this work. Your muscles ache from dragging heavy sledges, lifting massive stones, or chipping away at the hard rock. The constant friction of rough ropes against your skin, the strain in your back and shoulders, these are familiar, persistent companions. And sometimes you feel a sharp, sudden sting on your back from whiplashes. It is a searing sensation that quickly fades into a dull ache, a swift, brutal reminder of the overseer's constant vigilance. The sound of the crack of whips, though distant and sporadic, is a chilling punctuator to the ceaseless labor, a sound that carries across the quarry, echoing the power wielded by those who manage the work. Meals are simple, meager, and always the same. You receive rations of stale bread, often dry and hard, perhaps with a few onions or a piece of dried fish. Water, though essential, is often warm and dusty, a temporary relief from the parching thirst. This basic sustenance provides just enough energy to keep your body moving. To endure the punishing demands of each day, but offers no comfort or pleasure. But beneath the physical exertion and the sting of corrective discipline, there is a profound internal sensation, dread. The consequences for perceived laziness or disobedience can be severe, far beyond simple pain. You dread limb amputation, a quiet, chilling knowledge that certain offenses could result in the loss of a hand or foot, rendering you utterly helpless in a world with no safety nets. This dread is not a scream, but a cold, heavy weight in your chest, a constant warning. Even more terrifying is the fear of execution. While rare for common laborers, the ultimate punishment for severe insubordination or theft could be death. This fear would manifest as a silent apprehension, a heightened awareness of the overseer's expressions, a careful calculation of every movement, every word. The knowledge that a life, so relentlessly toiling, could be extinguished swiftly and quietly leaves a pervasive sense of vulnerability. To exist in such a state, to perform backbreaking labor under constant supervision and the threat of severe reprisal, required a profound internal fortitude. It demanded a silent endurance, a focus on the immediate task to avoid attracting unwanted attention, and a deep, almost instinctual, drive for survival. The rhythm of their lives was a constant struggle against the elements, against exhaustion, and against the omnipresent, subtle threat of the overseer's lash or the pharaoh's distant absolute will. From the searing toil and quiet dread of the laborers at the Giza quarries, let us now lift our gaze to the very source of this monumental effort, the pharaoh Khufu, whose ambitious reign commanded the construction of the Great Pyramid, a testament to his divine role, yet also shadowed by the tales of its cost and human suffering. This narrative of ambition and power, delivered with a soothing, reflective tone of history unfolding, allows us to contemplate the nature of ancient authority. The era is approximately 2589 to 2566 BCE, a period known as the Fourth Dynasty of the Old Kingdom, a time when the power of the pharaoh was absolute and profoundly divine. Khufu, or Cheops as he was known to the Greeks, was not merely a king. He was considered a living god, the embodiment of Horus, ensuring the cosmic order and the prosperity of Egypt. His decrees were not just laws. They were divine commands to be followed without question. Imagine the immense weight of such a belief system. The pharaoh's will was understood to be directly linked to the well-being of the entire land. Building a monumental tomb, an eternal dwelling for the god-king, was not seen as a burden, but as a sacred duty for the entire populace, ensuring Khufu's successful journey to the afterlife, which in turn guaranteed the continued blessings for Egypt. This belief provided the fundamental justification for the enormous scale of the pyramid project. The Great Pyramid of Giza, known as the Pyramid of Khufu, was indeed an engineering marvel of its time, and remains so. Its sheer size, its precise alignment with cardinal points, and the meticulous craftsmanship of its internal passages speak of an incredible organizational feat. This was not built by slaves in the common sense, but by a vast, organized workforce of skilled craftsmen, laborers, and support staff drawn from across Egypt, who served in rotation, fulfilling their civic and religious obligations. However, the stories that emerge later, particularly from Greek historians like Herodotus centuries after Khufu's time, painted a picture of a tyrannical ruler who imposed immense hardship on his people. These ancient accounts speak of a pharaoh who closed temples, forced all Egyptians into servitude for 20 years to build his pyramid, and pushed his people to the brink of endurance. While modern archaeology suggests a more organized, less overtly brutal system than these later myths imply, the image of harsh overseers and the intense physical demands of the work were certainly real. Think of the constant presence of these overseers, the foremen of thousands, or directors of work, whose authority was absolute within their assigned sections. Their role was to maintain order, ensure productivity, and enforce the pharaoh's will. Their methods, as hinted at in our previous segment, could involve swift and painful physical correction for those perceived as slacking or defiant. Their figures, standing watchful on the sun-baked plains, would have been constant reminders of the discipline required. The myths of his tyranny, whether fully historically accurate or later embellishments, serve as a quiet reflection on the immense power wielded by a pharaoh. Even if the laborers were compensated with food and shelter and worked in rotation rather than perpetual slavery, the sheer scale of the project and the relentless conditions would have undoubtedly taken a profound toll on human bodies and spirits. The brutal punishments hinted at in the papyri we will explore later suggest that discipline was indeed severe for those who failed to meet expectations. The reign of Khufu, therefore, presents a fascinating duality: a pharaoh who achieved an immortal legacy through a monument of unparalleled scale and precision, but whose name also became synonymous in later traditions with an unrelenting, even cruel, exercise of divine authority. The silent, colossal stones of his pyramid stand as a perpetual testament to both the heights of ancient ambition and the immense, quiet human effort that built them. From the grand, yet often harsh, realities of pyramid construction under pharaohs like Khufu, let us now delve into a more intimate and revealing aspect of ancient Egyptian labor, the fascinating enigma of the deer. El Medina Papyri. These humble yet profoundly informative fragments of written record offer a rare, direct glimpse into the daily lives, disputes, and, crucially, the punishments endured by the elite tomb workers. They invite us to ponder the quiet suffering and the meticulous record-keeping of a bygone era. Imagine a small, self-contained village nestled in the desert hills near the Valley of the Kings, far removed from the grand spectacle of the pyramids. This was Deir al-Medina, a unique settlement specifically established for the highly skilled artisans and craftsmen who carved and decorated the royal tombs of the New Kingdom. While our initial focus was on the Old Kingdom pyramid builders, these later papyri offer a remarkably detailed look at the lives of similar, though more privileged, royal laborers. The air here would be dry and still, carrying the scent of dust and perhaps the subtle, dry aroma of stored papyrus. The primary function of these papyri, often fragments from longer scrolls, was administrative, to record supplies, absences from work, court proceedings, and even personal letters. Think of them as the meticulous bureaucratic paperwork of an ancient community. The very act of a scribe's reed pen scratching on the fibrous surface of the papyrus, documenting the minutiae of daily existence, creates a quiet, indelible record. The mystery, or perhaps the quiet fascination, of these papyri lies not just in their routine content, but in the occasional, stark depictions of punishments meted out to tomb workers. While many records highlight their relatively good living conditions and high status compared to other laborers, these darker entries reveal the severe consequences for transgressions. This raises a quiet, persistent question: were these punishments primarily for theft of valuable tomb goods, for acts of rebellion against overseers, or for other, less clear infractions within their highly controlled environment? Consider the scribes, the skilled individuals who carefully inscribed these records. Their careful hieratic script recorded incidents with a factual, detached tone. You might find entries detailing a worker being beaten with rods for not showing up for work or for damaging tools. More severe entries might refer to someone being sent to the copper mines, a harsh form of forced labor in a desolate, dangerous environment, effectively a sentence that often meant a quiet end. While the papyri do not typically include graphic descriptions of physical pain, they document the act of punishment and its consequences, allowing for quiet reflection on the nature of ancient justice. These records provide invaluable insights into cultural practices around Egyptian labor and justice. They demonstrate that even highly valued royal artisans were subject to strict discipline and harsh penalties for perceived misconduct. They highlight the concept of collective responsibility, where the actions of one individual could affect the entire work gang. They show the meticulous attention paid to accountability, even for the most severe forms of disciplinary action. The fact that these papyri have been found preserved for thousands of years in the dry sands of Deir el-Medina allows us to directly engage with the complex realities of worker suffering and control in ancient Egypt. They are not merely ancient texts. They are tangible pieces of a grand puzzle, inviting calm contemplation. They prompt us to consider how authority was maintained, how transgressions were dealt with, and how much even the most privileged laborers lived under a shadow of potential disciplinary action. The subtle rustling sound of these ancient fragments, when held in the mind's eye, whispers tales of a society that, even in its meticulous documentation, reveals the underlying presence of hardship and fear. From the stark realities recorded in the Deir el-Medina papyri, let us now gently transition to a realm of exquisite comfort and profound spiritual engagement, the sprawling, opulent world of an Egyptian noble's palace. This offers a striking contrast to the laborer's arduous life and the fear of punishment, providing a captivating glimpse into the serene grandeur, refined pleasures, and profound ritual duties that defined the ancient Egyptian elite. Imagine stepping through a grand, perhaps brightly painted, entrance into a tranquil and meticulously designed compound, far from the dusty quarries. The air here would feel cool and calm, often carrying the delicate, sweet scent of lotus blossoms from tranquil pools, mingling with the earthy aroma of freshly watered gardens and the subtle fragrance of expensive perfumes. The soft murmur of quiet conversations, the gentle rustle of linen, and the distant, soothing notes of a musical instrument would form a constant, low hum, signifying the refined affairs of the noble household. The architecture of a noble's palace would be substantial and elegant, typically built with mud brick walls coated in white stucco, adorned with vibrant frescoes depicting scenes of daily life, banquets, hunting, and religious rituals. Interior spaces would be designed for comfort and aesthetic pleasure, with open courtyards, shaded porticos, and private chambers. Light, filtered through high windows or open doorways, would softly illuminate rooms furnished with elegant wooden furniture, often inlaid with ivory or precious metals. In the evening, the soft glow from alabaster lamps would cast warm, gentle light, creating an atmosphere of serene luxury. The daily rhythm of an Egyptian noble was one of immense privilege and significant ritual responsibility. Unlike the physical toil of the laborer, the noble's duties were primarily administrative, religious, and social. They managed their estates, oversaw their servants, participated in temple rituals, and entertained guests. Their days were filled with gentle oversight, spiritual devotion, and, crucially, moments of refined leisure. Feasts in a noble's palace were elaborate social occasions, reflecting the noble's wealth, status, and hospitality. Imagine guests reclining on comfortable cushions, enjoying an astonishing array of dishes. The aroma of succulent roasted duck or goose would fill the air, alongside various preparations of fish from the Nile, and baskets overflowing with sweet figs and grapes. Breads, pastries, and honey cakes would be abundant. Millet beer and grape wine, often from the noble's own vineyards, would be served in elegant pottery or alabaster vessels. The sounds of such a feast would be a harmonious blend of convivial conversation and refined entertainment. The soft plucking of a harp, the reedy melody of a double oboe, or the rhythmic beat of hand drums would provide a soothing backdrop for the measured conversations and polite laughter. Discussions would often revolve around matters of estate management, the latest news from the royal court, and, critically, their roles in temple rituals. The noble's life was deeply intertwined with the spiritual fabric of Egyptian society. They held titles, often hereditary, that connected them to particular deities or temples. Their role in temple rituals was paramount, involving offerings to the gods, participation in religious processions, and the maintenance of divine order. Imagine the noble, clad in fine linen, moving with solemn dignity within the hallowed precincts of a temple, performing ancient rites that ensured the favor of the gods for themselves, their family, and all of Egypt. These rituals were moments of quiet, profound connection to the divine. This segment allows us to reflect on the immense comfort, the ceremonial splendor, and the deep spiritual engagement that defined the lives of the Egyptian elite. It is a striking contrast to the harsh, physically demanding existence of the pyramid laborers. One group lived a life cushioned by luxury and spiritual purpose, participating in rituals that connected them directly to the divine order. The other toiled under the sun, a vital but physically demanding part of the same grand system. Both existed within the vast structure of ancient Egyptian society, but their experiences were worlds apart, highlighting the profound disparities in this ancient civilization. From the comfortable, lotus-scented world of the Egyptian noble's palace, let us now gently turn our attention to another profoundly significant, yet often quietly unseen, segment of Egyptian society, the priests. These figures were the silent guardians of eternity, the meticulous caretakers of the gods and the deceased, living lives defined by ritual purity, sacred duties, and a deep connection to the divine. This segment invites you to contemplate their measured existence and the profound spiritual atmosphere they cultivated. Imagine the atmosphere within the vast stone walls of an Egyptian temple complex. Unlike the bustling noise of the city or the active compounds of nobles, temples were places of profound quiet and solemnity. The air would often be thick with the sweet, woody aroma of frankincense or myrrh, drifting from burnt offerings. The sounds would be hushed, the soft padding of sandal-clad feet on polished stone floors, the gentle scraping of a scribe's reed pen, or the very distant, almost imperceptible murmur of ritualistic chants, echoing from deep within the inner sanctuaries. The life of an Egyptian priest was one of strict adherence to ritual purity. Before entering the sacred spaces or performing their duties, priests would undergo rigorous purification rites. This involved frequent washing, often multiple times a day, sometimes with purified water. They would shave their entire bodies, removing all hair to ensure ritual cleanliness. They typically wore only pure white linen garments, unadorned, to symbolize their purity and detachment from the mundane world. This meticulous attention to cleanliness was not just hygiene. It was a spiritual necessity, preparing them to interact with the divine. Their daily duties were numerous and precise, focused entirely on the care of the gods. Imagine the early morning rituals. The priest, having purified himself, would gently break the clay seal on the temple shrine, revealing the cult image of the god. They would then perform a series of intimate rituals, washing, anointing, dressing the statue in fine linens and jewels, and offering meals of carefully prepared food and drink. These were not public spectacles, but quiet, deeply personal acts of devotion, performed daily to ensure the god's well-being and, by extension, the prosperity of Egypt. The gentle sounds of these quiet offerings, the soft clinking of vessels, the rustle of linen, would fill the inner sanctum. Beyond the daily care of the gods, priests also play crucial roles in funerary rites and the cults of the deceased. They officiate at burials, ensuring that the elaborate rituals necessary for the deceased's successful journey to the afterlife were performed correctly. They would manage the offerings made to the spirits of the dead in their tombs, ensuring their eternal sustenance. This continuous work with both the living gods and the powerful ancestors created a perpetual cycle of sacred duty. The Egyptian priesthood was not a monolithic entity. There were different ranks and specializations. Servants of the god, the highest rank, directly serving the cult image. Lectors recited sacred texts and spells from papyrus scrolls during rituals, their voices a steady, rhythmic drone. Pure ones, the lowest rank, responsible for purification and maintaining the temple's cleanliness. Many priests served on a rotating basis, spending a month at the temple before returning to their secular lives, maintaining a quiet connection to both the sacred and the mundane. The chief priests, however, were full-time, highly influential figures, often advising the pharaoh and overseeing vast temple estates. This segment allows us to reflect on the quiet, yet immensely powerful, world of the Egyptian priesthood. Their lives, dedicated to purity and precise ritual, ensured the cosmic order and the very functioning of the universe as the Egyptians understood it. The pervasive scent of incense, the meticulous movements of silent ritual, and the ancient, echoing chants, these are the gentle whispers of a profound spiritual devotion that underpin the entirety of Egyptian civilization, settling softly into the quiet of the night. From the serene, ritualistic world of the Egyptian priesthood, let us now gently shift our focus to the more ephemeral, yet equally fundamental, elements of daily life along the lifeblood of Egypt, the Nile River. We will tune our ears to the whispers of the Nile, exploring the ordinary sounds and the significant silences that define the existence of its common inhabitants, offering a calming contrast to the grandeur and grimness we've previously explored. Imagine a typical day unfolding along the fertile banks of the Nile. The morning air, often cool and slightly humid, would slowly fill with the first sounds of waking life. You might hear the distant, rhythmic creak of a shaduf, the counterbalance lever used to lift water from the river to irrigate fields. This simple, repetitive sound would be a constant, comforting backdrop to early morning agricultural work, a testament to the fundamental reliance on the river. The general atmosphere would be one of quiet industry and constant movement. You might hear the soft clatter of pottery as women fetched water or prepared food. The low, murmuring conversations of farmers in their fields, the gentle rustle of papyrus reeds along the riverbanks, and the distant, rhythmic splash of a fishing net being cast into the water. These would be the fabric of the river's waking soundtrack. Life for the common people was inextricably linked to the Nile's annual inundation, its cycles of flooding and receding, which brought fertile soil and sustained life. Think of the simple materials that dominated their lives: mud brick, wood, and woven fibers. Their homes would be humble, built from sun-dried bricks, providing cool shelter from the desert heat. The sounds within these homes would be quiet and intimate: the rustle of straw sleeping mats, the soft crackle of a small fire for baking bread, the gentle hum of conversation. There would be a pervading sense of groundedness, a direct connection to the natural environment and its rhythms. During the daytime, as the sun climbed higher, the sounds might shift. You might hear the distant calls of boatmen navigating the river, their voices echoing across the water as they steered their simple reed boats or larger wooden vessels laden with goods. The rhythmic chant of rowers or the soft flap of a sail catching the wind would signify the crucial role of river transport. Along the banks, the soft shuffling of sandals on dirt paths or the lowing of cattle would add to the gentle symphony of rural life. However, just as significant as the sounds were the silences. There would be profound silences in the desert fringes, broken only by the dry whisper of wind or the distant call of a desert bird. Along the Nile itself, particularly during the peak heat of midday or in the deep stillness of night, moments of quiet contemplation would be common. The only sounds then would be the persistent, gentle lapping of the river's water against the banks, a timeless rhythm that had sustained generations. The nights in ancient Egypt would have been profoundly dark, illuminated only by the moon and stars, and often very quiet. The distant cries of nocturnal animals, the gentle stirring of the wind through palms, or the soft sounds of a family sleeping would be the only disturbances to the profound stillness. This natural quietude would have fostered a deep connection to the celestial cycles and to the subtle, powerful presence of the life-giving Nile. This segment allows us to reflect on the quiet, often unrecorded, lives of the majority of Egyptian people. Their existence, though lacking the grandeur of pharaohs or the ritual purity of priests, was rich in its own way, defined by the simple, repetitive sounds of daily labor, the nurturing presence of the Nile, and the profound, natural silences of their world. These quiet echoes from ancient Egypt drift softly, helping us to imagine a world far removed from our own, yet connected by the enduring patterns of human life. We have witnessed the profound contrast that defined this enduring civilization, its moments of immense suffering and its heights of divine luxury. Its colossal public works and its intimate, often harsh, personal realities, its meticulous organization and its pervasive spirituality. It is a world both ancient and complex, a testament to the intricate and often contradictory nature of human societies across millennia. What if, as a medieval Japanese peasant, your very existence was tied to land you didn't own, and the constant threat of lords' brutal whims or sudden raids made every day a quiet fear? We gently unfold their stories. Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the 12th century CE. The setting is the fertile countryside near Kyoto, the grand capital of Japan. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a peasant, bound to the land controlled by a powerful local lord, a daimyo. Your life is defined by the relentless demands of the earth, the cycles of cultivation, and the unwavering obligations. To your lord, the first sensation that might envelop you is the pervasive sensory strain of muddy fields. The air often carries the damp, earthy scent of wet soil and growing rice, mingled with the faint aroma of stagnant water from the paddies. The dominant sounds would be the soft, rhythmic squelch of mud beneath your bare feet as you wade through the flooded fields, planting young rice shoots. The gentle hum of insects around the water and the distant calls of birds would form the constant backdrop to your ceaseless labor. Your body, in particular, knows the unceasing demands of this work. Day after day, often bent low under the sun, or in the cool morning mist, you plant, weed, and harvest. Your back aches from the repetitive motions of planting rice, feeling the constant strain of muscle and bone. Your hands would be rough and calloused, familiar with the feel of cool mud and the sharp edges of rice stalks. This physical exertion is a constant, quiet companion, a reminder of the relentless cycles of agriculture. Meals, while providing necessary energy, are simple and often monotonous. Your staple would be millet, perhaps prepared as a gruel or mixed with other grains, offering a coarse but filling sustenance. Occasionally, you might have fish, caught from nearby rivers or streams, or forage greens. This basic nourishment provides just enough to sustain your body through the long hours of toil, but rarely offers the indulgence of true variety or pleasure. As the day ends, you would return to your humble home. Your shelter would be simple, constructed from wood, bamboo, and thatch, designed for practicality and warmth in winter. Your nights are spent sleeping on a tatami mat, its woven surface firm and unyielding against your body. The sounds of the night would be minimal, the chirping of crickets, the rustle of the wind through nearby trees, or the gentle, distant sounds of fellow villagers settling down for the night. But beneath the physical exertion and the simple routines, there are deeper, persistent anxieties. You keenly feel the weight of tax collectors. The fruits of your labor, the precious rice you cultivate, are not entirely your own. A significant portion, sometimes as much as half or more, must be surrendered to your daimyo as tax. This burden is a constant source of quiet worry, a knowledge that despite your relentless effort, surplus is rare and survival is often precarious. You hear the crisp official tones of the tax collectors as they arrive, the rustle of their papers, the quiet, resigned sighs of your neighbor's dot, and then there's the ever-present, unsettling fear of samurai raids. This era was often marked by localized conflicts between rival daimyo. While your lord provides a degree of protection, the countryside could swiftly become a battleground. The distant, ominous sound of horse hooves, the shouts of warriors, the sudden flicker of firelight on the horizon, these would be the terrifying harbingers of a raid. The fear is a cold knot in the stomach, the quiet understanding that your home, your meager possessions, and even your family could be swept away in a sudden burst of violence. To exist in such a state, to endure relentless labor under the shadow of heavy obligations and potential conflict, required a profound internal fortitude. It demanded a silent resilience, a focus on the immediate task of survival, and a deep, almost instinctual drive to simply carry on. The rhythm of their lives was a constant struggle against the elements, against exhaustion, and against the omnipresent, subtle threat of the Lord's demands and the warrior's blade. From the humble, arduous existence of the medieval Japanese peasant, bound to the rhythms of the land and the local lord, let us now gently shift our gaze to the grander stage of feudal power. We turn our attention to the figure of Minamoto no Yoritomo, a man whose strategic vision and military prowess would fundamentally reshape the political landscape of Japan, laying the foundations for centuries of warrior rule. This narrative of ambition and the establishment of a new order is delivered with a soothing, reflective tone, allowing you to contemplate the quiet currents of history. The period is the late 12th century, a time marked by increasing tension, an eventual widespread conflict between two powerful rival clans, the Minamoto and the Taira. For decades, the imperial court in Kyoto, which we will visit later, had been the center of power, but actual authority had slowly fragmented, often wielded by powerful court nobles or monastic institutions. This fragile balance was about to be profoundly disrupted. Minamoto no Yoritomo, born in 1147 CE, was a scion of the influential Minamoto clan. His early life was marked by adversity. His family suffered a devastating defeat at the hands of the Taira and the Heiji rebellion, and Yoritomo himself was exiled at a young age to the remote Izu Peninsula. Imagine the quiet years of exile, a time of enforced contemplation, perhaps nurturing a quiet, persistent ambition for restoration and revenge. This period, far from the bustling capital, likely shaped his disciplined resolve and strategic thinking. It was in 1180 CE that Yoritomo, then in his early 30s, received a summons from Prince Mokihito, a son of Emperor Go-Shirakawa, to rise against the dominant Taira clan. This was the spark that ignited what became known as the Genpei War, a widespread conflict that would engulf Japan for 5 years. These were not battles of grand armies on open fields in the European style, but often a series of smaller skirmishes, sieges, and naval engagements, stretching across vast distances, with local lords and their samurai joining one side or the other. Yo or Itomo, though initially a minor figure, displayed a remarkable talent for organization and leadership. He established his base in Kamakura, a strategically advantageous location far from the old imperial capital, and began to consolidate his power. He attracted loyal samurai, not just through charisma, but through clear promises of reward in the form of land and official positions once victory was achieved. His approach was measured, disciplined, and systematic, patiently building a formidable force, the wars themselves. while often involving swift and decisive actions, were also prolonged and exhausting. For the ordinary peasants, these conflicts meant profound disruption. While we avoid graphic descriptions of warfare, imagine the constant anxiety of living in a land where rival armies might pass through, demanding supplies, commandeering resources, or engaging in local skirmishes that could devastate a village. The quiet hum of daily life could be shattered by the distant sounds of marching feet or the sudden, stark presence of armed samurai, their armor glinting in the sun. The need for food to feed these armies often meant additional demands on peasants, intensifying the burden of their labor and their taxes. Through a series of critical victories, culminating in the decisive naval battle of Dan-no-Ura in 1185 CE, the Minamoto clan ultimately vanquished the Taira. This victory marked a pivotal moment in Japanese history. However, Yoritomo did not immediately move to Kyoto to claim imperial power. Instead, he maintained his base in Kamakura, reinforcing his distinct form of authority. Separate from the emperor's court in 1192 CE, Minamoto no Yoritomo officially received the title of Seiyai Taishigan, or Barbarian Subduing Generalissimo, from the emperor. This was the formal establishment of the Kamakura shogunate, the first enduring military government in Japanese history. It marked a profound shift in power, moving effective political control from the imperial court and aristocratic families in Kyoto to the warrior class centered in Kamakura. The establishment of samurai rule meant that Japan would now be governed by a warrior class, emphasizing discipline, loyalty, and martial prowess. Yoritomo set up a system of military governors, shugo, and land stewards, jutu, across the provinces, effectively overseeing all aspects of local administration, including taxation and justice. This new structure brought a degree of stability after the long war, but it also solidified the obligations and demands placed upon the peasantry. Their lives, already arduous, were now firmly under the control of a powerful military elite, their labor fueling not just local lords, but a broader, centralized warrior government. The disciplined and strategic rise of Minamoto no Yoritomo, his patient consolidation of power, and the eventual founding of the Kamakura shogunate represent a quiet, yet monumental, shift in the course of Japanese history. It laid the groundwork for a society where the sword, rather than the courtly brush, held ultimate sway, shaping the lives of everyone, from the highest noble to the humblest peasant, for centuries to come. From the broad strokes of Minamoto no Yoritomo's military rise and the new order of samurai rule, let us now gently narrow our focus to a more intimate and tangible aspect of medieval Japanese life: the fascinating enigma of Heian-taku scrolls. These humble yet profoundly informative fragments of written record, often found preserved within the quiet confines of ancient Kyoto temples, offer a rare, direct glimpse into the economic realities, the administrative intricacies, and the daily burdens of the Japanese peasantry. They invite us to ponder the quiet suffering and the meticulous record-keeping of a bygone era. Imagine the atmosphere in a quiet, cool storage room within an ancient Buddhist temple in Kyoto. The air might carry the faint, dry scent of aged paper, and perhaps a subtle aroma of wood from ancient shelving. The sounds would be hushed: the gentle rustle of a scholar's robes, the soft clicking of a writing brush, and the almost imperceptible dry rustle of old scrolls as they are carefully unrolled. This quiet environment is where these ancient documents, the remnants of centuries of meticulous administration, have rested for generations. The core of Japan's feudal economy revolved around agriculture, primarily rice cultivation. The land was the source of all wealth and power, and taxes levied predominantly in rice were the lifeblood of the ruling class, the imperial court, the aristocracy, and later the samurai. These tax scrolls were the meticulous records of these obligations. They were carefully compiled by local administrators, documenting the landholdings of peasant families, the estimated yields, and the precise amounts of rice or other produce they owed to their lord. The mystery, or perhaps the quiet fascination, of these scrolls lies not just in their practical function, but in the questions they raise about their enforcement and potential manipulation. While many records highlight the systematic nature of feudal taxation, these documents sometimes offer subtle clues of negotiation, resistance, or even corruption. This raises a quiet, persistent question: were these tax demands always strictly enforced with unwavering severity, or were there instances where they might have been manipulated by local officials, or even subtly resisted by the peasants themselves? Consider the scribes, often temple monks or educated village officials, who carefully inscribed these records. Their precise brushstrokes documented entries such as X amount of koku of rice owed by family Y from village Z. These dry, factual statements, when read closely, hint at the immense burden on peasant families. The weight of these taxes was truly crushing, forcing peasants to labor relentlessly simply to meet their obligations, leaving little surplus for themselves. The scrolls rarely describe the human cost directly, but the sheer volume of their demands is implicitly understood. These records provide invaluable insights into cultural practices around Japanese feudalism and the complex relationship between the ruling class and the peasantry. They demonstrate the meticulous bureaucracy of the feudal system, even at the local level. They reveal the profound economic power of the daimyo and the shogunate, whose entire existence rested upon the agricultural output of the common people. The scrolls also indirectly shed light on the constant pressure peasants faced, and how even subtle shifts in harvest yields or administrative demands could drastically impact their survival. The fact that these archaeological finds, these humble tax scrolls, have been preserved for centuries in the dry, stable environments of temples allows us to directly engage with the fundamental economic realities of medieval rural life. They are not merely ancient texts. They are tangible pieces of a grand puzzle, inviting calm contemplation. They prompt, used to consider how power was exercised through taxation, how the system shaped individual lives, and how much even the seemingly simple act of collecting taxes was fraught with quiet tension. The subtle rustling sound of these ancient fragments, when held in the mind's eye, whispers tales of a society where even the most mundane administrative records reveal the underlying presence of hardship and the relentless demands placed upon the land. From the stark realities etched in the Heian tax scrolls and the arduous life of the medieval peasant, let us now gently transition to a realm of exquisite refinement, aesthetic beauty, and intricate social maneuvering. The sprawling, elegant world of a Heian noble's court. This offers a profound contrast to the peasant's ceaseless toil, providing a captivating glimpse into the serene grandeur, refined pleasures, and the subtle complexities of imperial politics that define Japan's elite culture during this remarkable period. Imagine stepping through a delicate sliding door into a noble's residence within the capital city of Heian-kyo, modern Kyoto. The air here would feel cool and calm, often carrying the delicate, sweet scent of burning incense, or perhaps, in spring, the light, fresh aroma of cherry blossoms from meticulously curated gardens. The sounds would be hushed and measured, the soft rustle of silk garments as figures move gracefully, the gentle murmur of polite conversation, and the distant, soothing notes of a musical instrument like the koto or a bamboo flute. The architecture of a Heian noble's residence was designed for beauty and harmony with nature, characterized by open pavilions, connecting corridors, and tranquil gardens. Interior spaces were defined by elegant simplicity and fine materials. Walls were often made of delicate silk screens, by Obu and Fusimo, adorned with exquisite paintings or calligraphy, allowing light to diffuse softly in spaces to be reconfigured. Furnishings would be minimal yet luxurious, including lacquered wooden tables, comfortable cushions, and perhaps low folding screens. The light, often diffused and soft, would gently illuminate chambers. Designed for both daily life and sophisticated social gatherings, the daily rhythm of a Heian noble was one of refined leisure, aesthetic pursuit, and subtle political maneuvering. Unlike the physical labor of the peasant, the noble's duties were primarily intellectual, artistic, and ceremonial. Their days were filled with gentle oversight of their estates, elaborate social calls, the composition of poetry, and the meticulous attention to personal appearance and etiquette. Feasts in a noble's court were not merely meals. They were carefully orchestrated social and artistic events, reflecting the noble's taste, wealth, and connections. Imagine guests as seated on floor cushions, enjoying a meticulously presented array of dishes. The aroma of perfectly cooked rice, often accompanied by delicate fish, seasoned vegetables, and small portions of duck or fowl, would subtly fill the air. The most distinctive element would be sak, a rice wine, served in delicate lacquered cups. Its gentle warmth adding to the atmosphere of convivial relaxation. The sounds of such a feast would be a harmonious blend of hushed, refined conversation and the soft melodies of traditional music. A central feature of court life was the poetry contest. Imagine nobles, both men and women, engaging in elegant exchanges, composing waka poems on the spot, their voices soft and measured, each syllable carefully chosen. The sounds of their recitations, the gentle laughter, and the appreciative murmurs of fellow courtiers would fill the air, punctuating the subtle plucking of a kodo or the reedy notes of a flute. These contests were not just entertainment. They were a vital display of wit, education, and sensitivity, crucial for social standing and political influence. The noble's role in imperial politics was paramount, though often conducted through indirect means. While the emperor was the symbolic head of the nation, real power during much of the Heian period rested with powerful aristocratic families, particularly the Fujiwara clan, who often controlled appointments and advised the throne. Nobles would spend their days crafting elegant letters, engaging in subtle diplomacy, arranging strategic marriages, and cultivating alliances through gifts and favors. Their influence was wielded through carefully chosen words, exquisite calligraphy, and a profound understanding of courtly protocol. This segment allows us to reflect on the immense comfort, the ceremonial splendor, and the deep aesthetic and intellectual engagement that define the lives of the Heian elite. It stands in stark, yet serene, contrast to the arduous, tax-burdened existence of the peasant. One group lived a life cushioned by luxury, artistry, and political intrigue, connected to the very heart of imperial power. The other toiled under the sun, a vital but physically demanding part of the same vast system. Both existed within the grand structure of medieval Japanese society, but their experiences were profoundly different, highlighting the profound disparities and the intricate layers of this fascinating historical period. From the refined and often secular world of the Heian noble's court, let us now gently descend to the spiritual heart of the medieval Japanese peasant. Here, amidst the relentless toil and constant anxieties, a quiet yet profound faith provided solace, meaning, and a framework for understanding a difficult world. We explore the deep intertwining of Buddhism and ancient folk beliefs in their daily lives, inviting you to contemplate the quiet, enduring power of their spirituality. Imagine the landscape of medieval Japan, not just as fields and villages, but as a space permeated by sacred presence. Humble Buddhist temples and numerous local shrines dedicated to Shinto deities were ubiquitous, often nestled among the trees on hillsides or standing quietly by a river. The air, even in remote areas, might carry the faint scent of burning incense from a small altar or the subtle aroma of offerings left for the spirits. The sounds would be gentle and rhythmic, but distant, steady striking of a wooden mokiyo during a monk's morning prayers, or the almost imperceptible rustle of prayer flags moved by a gentle breeze. For the medieval Japanese peasant, life was an unending cycle of labor, natural uncertainties, and the demands of their lords. Amidst this, Buddhism offered a profound philosophical framework and a path to solace. While sophisticated Buddhist doctrine might have been the domain of learned monks and court elites, for the common people, it often manifested as a simpler, more accessible practice focused on Amitabha Buddha and the promise of rebirth in the Pure Land, chanting the Nimbutsu, Namu Amida Butsu, Hail to Amitabha Buddha, was a common and comforting practice. A quiet repetition that could be done anywhere, anytime, offering a path to spiritual ease, even in moments of great hardship. Think of the simplicity of their rituals. A peasant, perhaps after a long day in the fields, might quietly approach a small local temple or a wayside shrine. They might offer a handful of rice, light a stick of incense, or simply bring their hands together in silent prayer. These were not elaborate ceremonies, but quiet, deeply personal acts of devotion, a way to connect with the divine, to express gratitude, or to seek protection and good fortune for their crops and families. The very act of visiting these sacred spots provided a brief respite from the physical demands of their lives, a quiet moment of internal peace. Alongside the teachings of Buddhism, ancient folk beliefs continued to hold immense power. These were deeply rooted in the land and the reverence for nature spirits, kami, and in the practice of ancestral worship. Every village likely had its own guardian kami enshrined at a local Shinto shrine, often marked by a simple torii gate. Peasants would offer prayers for good harvests, for protection from illness, and for the well-being of their families. They believed the spirits of their ancestors watched over them, and rituals for the deceased were meticulously, if simply, performed, ensuring harmony between the living and the dead. The quiet reverence for these unseen forces permeated every aspect of their daily lives. The presence of monks in rural areas also played a significant role. Wandering monks might visit villages, offering blessings, reciting sutras, or simply providing spiritual guidance. Their quiet presence, their calm demeanor, and the rhythmic sounds of their chanting or the tapping of their makujo would have been a source of quiet reassurance for the villagers. A visible manifestation of the spiritual world in their midst stopped this intertwining of Buddhist principles of suffering and liberation with ancient, earthy folk beliefs created a unique spiritual tapestry for the medieval Japanese peasant. It offered a quiet solace amidst the crushing weight of their existence, a framework for understanding life's impermanence, and a hope for a better future, whether in this life or the next. The pervasive scent of incense, the meticulous movements of simple devotion, and the ancient, echoing chants. These are the gentle whispers of a profound faith that provided a quiet, enduring strength to the people of medieval Japan. From the quiet spiritual depths of medieval Japanese peasant life, let us now gently turn our attention to the tangible realities of their daily existence within the village itself. We will explore the rhythm of the village, focusing on the humble tools they used, the simple crafts they practiced, and the quiet strength derived from their communal bonds. This segment invites you to contemplate the ingenuity, resilience, and cooperative spirit that sustained them amidst hardship. Imagine a typical peasant village nestled among the fields, its cluster of simple thatched roof homes blending harmoniously with the landscape. The air might carry the earthy scent of drying rice straw, mingled with the faint, woody aroma of smoke from cooking fires. The sounds would be gentle and consistent, the distant rhythmic thud of a wooden mallet used for husking grain, the soft swish of a hand loom as thread is woven into cloth, or the quiet, purposeful scraping of a simple hoe against the earth in a nearby garden. These sounds would form a continuous, calming backdrop to the village's daily life. The peasant's world was defined by simple yet essential tools. Imagine the smooth, worn wood of a hoe handle against your palm, or the cool, familiar weight of a sickle as you harvest rice. These tools, often crafted from wood, bamboo, or simple iron, were extensions of their bodies, carefully maintained and passed down through generations. The sounds of their use, the careful sharpening of a blade on a stone, the rhythmic chop of an axe splitting firewood, the gentle creak of a handcart on a dirt path, would speak of a deep connection to the land and its resources beyond. Agriculture, many peasants engaged in simple crafts to supplement their livelihoods or create necessary household items. You might hear the quiet, focused sounds of weaving as fibers from hemp or ramie were transformed into sturdy cloth for clothing or mats. The gentle creak of the loom, the rhythmic shuttle passing threads, would create a soothing, almost meditative sound. Perhaps someone would be mending simple pottery or carefully shaping small wooden utensils, their hands moving with practice ease, creating objects for daily use with a quiet sense of purpose, a defining characteristic of medieval Japanese. Peasant life was the strength of community. The demands of rice cultivation particularly required communal effort. Imagine groups of villagers working together in the paddy fields, moving in unison, their movements synchronized as they planted or harvested. The quiet shared exertion, the subtle communication through glances and gestures would forge strong bonds. During times of shared labor, you might hear the soft, rhythmic sounds of simple work songs, hummed or sung quietly to help pass the long hours and coordinate their efforts. Evenings in the village would bring a comforting quiet. After the day's labor, families would gather in their simple homes. The gentle sizzle of meal cooking over an open hearth, the soft murmur of conversations, and the quiet laughter of children would fill the spaces. The profound darkness of the nights, broken only by the flickering light of a simple oil lamp or the glow of the moon, would encourage rest and reflection. The distant calls of nocturnal animals or the gentle rustle of the wind through the surrounding trees would be the only disturbances to the pervasive stillness. This segment allows us to reflect on the quiet, often uncelebrated ingenuity and resilience of the medieval Japanese peasant. Their lives, though marked by hardship, were also rich with the dignity of labor, the satisfaction of creating with their own hands, and the enduring warmth of communal bonds. These subtle sounds of village life, the rhythms of their daily existence, offer a calming echo from a distant past, reminding us of the quiet strength that can be found in simple things and shared purpose. Asterisk. So we have witnessed the profound contrasts that define this fascinating civilization, its moments of immense hardship and its heights of aristocratic elegance, its fierce military power and its pervasive spiritual devotion, its meticulous administration and its quiet, enduring village life. It is a world both disciplined and deeply traditional, a testament to the intricate and often contradictory nature of human societies across millennia. As the echoes of these ancient, yet deeply human, tales gently recede into the quiet of the past, allow your mind to drift back to the comfort and stillness of your own space, your own time. The distant thud of the rice mallet has quieted. The rustle of ancient scrolls has faded. The journey through this compelling age is complete. May your rest be deep and your dreams peaceful. Good night.